All right, so he's guilty. The guy who tried to kill President Trump at that golf course a year ago, found guilty today by a jury. I barely knew Ryan Routh, is his name, was on trial. This just kind of happened and it's gone. Just like the 2 assassination attempts just happened. No, there's more to this. Anyway, guilty on all counts, from weapons altering to attempted assassination. And he will spend most likely the rest of his life in jail. He hasn't been sentenced yet. 59 years old, found guilty on all counts. If you look at the sketch there, he's trying to stab himself in the neck with a pen. That was his reaction. Take that full, all right? You can see he's got a pen right there, right? That's him. And the U.S. Marshals are trying to save him from himself. The guy is obviously a nut, but the whole thing is incredibly weird. President Trump playing golf on that golf course, how the Secret Service actually said the president was not supposed to be there. They actually said the president was not supposed to be there. What he does every Sunday, he golfs. We know that about him. They know that about him. But they emphasized time and time again, he was not supposed to be there. What are they talking about? And the shooter is just this mystery man, Ryan Routh. A couple of things about him. He lived in Ukraine. Now, what was he doing over there? How did he get there? Why did he pop up in a Blackstone commercial? It's totally absurd, kind of. You know, we had another successful presidential assassin, probably part of a broad conspiracy. He lived in Russia for a number of years. Ryan Routh lived in Ukraine, Lee Harvey Oswald in Russia. It's just bizarre. And Ryan Routh is, well, this is what he sounds like.
Every day in my interactions with everybody, you know, every one of us is responsible for the outcome of this war. Every one of us, you know, by our actions and what we do. And, you know, when I call back home and say, hey, I need $5 so I can, you know, put enough money together to get a vest for a Ukrainian, and I get no response, I'm like, I'm not sure that the world is as wonderful as I once thought it was.
Yeah, it's our problem, not your problem. It's us, not you, huh? Well, he's weird. And so, I'm sorry, the Lee Harvey Oswald Routh thing, both, that's just weird. But it gets weirder when the Secret Service, when you factor them in and their response and the weird stuff this guy said. His name is Rao. He's no longer with the Secret Service. We think they have all these ways of maintaining their pay and little sinecures, little hiding spots in the agency. But right after this happened, he spoke, and a lot of things are just not adding up. Still.
What we did yesterday was exercise our emergency plan based on the number of tactical assets and the highest level of protection that we are providing.
All right, right there, the highest level of protection we are providing. He's playing a bureaucratic game. He's trying to convey that President Trump's coverage was as high as President Biden's, but it wasn't, and he wants to obscure that a little bit. He's doing a dance. He's playing a game. Next.
When you go down Southern Boulevard right now and you try to get over to Palm Beach and you see the robust presence that's existing outside of Mar-a-Lago, the heavy uniform presence, the additional assets of the Secret Service. And for those of you that were here in 2017, when the president was in office, when you look at that footprint now and you look at it today, there's not much difference there. There is heavy uniform presence out there.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. It's not like when President Trump was president. So take a look at the golf course where this guy was staged to take out President Trump. This is where the shooter was, okay? Right there at the top of my pen, that little, okay? This is Summit Boulevard, which was totally open that day. President Trump was here when they found the shooter, but he was supposed to make his way all the way to this place right here. Now, even if there was no shooter, President Trump should not be that close to ordinary vehicular traffic, right? You could lob a grenade over the fence and kill him. Anybody, it's just way too close to a president. He's not being, I don't think he's being honest, this guy. He's playing a bureaucratic game. We have one more? So think about this. We have Butler, Pennsylvania, happens when? That's July, right? July. And then we have West Palm. How many days? Not much time. Next element, please. these things happened essentially back to back. And that's crazy. They said, well, okay, this is never going to happen. We're going to ramp everything up. And they didn't. And forgive me if I can go back to Ron Rowe one more time. He blamed this on the president. Nobody, I mean, I'm still astonished. He's not telling the truth. It may have been an off-the-record movement, but the Secret Service plans for those. Watch what he says.
And again, what I go back to is yesterday was an off-the-record movement. Off the record. And the president wasn't even really supposed to go there. It was not on his official schedule. And so we put together a security plan, and that security plan worked.
It was the president's fault. That's just not true. Off the record, you know, not to brag, but I used to work at the White House, and they had off the records all the time. It did not mean what that guy says it means. The president was still on the move, but they might not alert the media. They was playing a game, I'm telling you. And so was his buddy there, Kimberly Cheadle. She was the first Secret Service director. I noticed something very strange when they both testified. Folks, when they investigated this, they only investigated what happened on July 13th or that day in September. They didn't look into all the weird things that was happening before all of this, all the horrible things that were being said about President Trump and their relationships with, I believe, sinister people. Watch this.
The assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on July 13th is the most significant operational failure of the Secret Service in decades, and I am keeping him and his family in my thoughts. I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to the family of Corey Comparator, a former fire chief and a hero who was killed in this senseless shooting. I would also like to acknowledge those who were injured in Butler, David Dutch and James Copenhagen, and I wish them a speedy recovery. I would be remiss if I did not also extend my condolences on the passing of your colleague, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Ms. Jackson Lee was always engaged in the oversight of the Secret Service, and her passing is a great loss to this body.
I extend my deepest sympathies to the Comparator family and my sincere wishes for Mr. Copenhaver and Mr. Dutch's continued recovery.
All right, so the thing here is this. They spent more time mourning Sheila Jackson, whoever, than pointing out what happened to President Trump. Our thoughts are with President Trump. Of course they are. You almost let him get killed. And that guy on the right didn't even say Trump. Oh, he talks about Biden and Mayorkas and how they're so good and all that stuff, but nothing about Trump. One more time, just a little part. This is all she says in the way of apology or sympathy toward President Trump.
I am keeping him and his family in my thoughts.
No kidding, because you're going to be meeting with them and they're going to yell at you. I don't know. I mean, there's something suspicious about it. And her. Very grim, right? And but I also think protected. They called her out of retirement. Joe Biden did. She worked for the Bidens, very close with the Bidens, and also very close earlier in her career with the Cheneys, right? Dick Cheney. I find this incredibly, well, what did Dick Cheney, what did he think of Donald Trump?
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
What a reckless, terrible thing to say. In our history, there's never been an individual who was a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. So I think I know what happened. Well, I have my suspicions. If you believe that and you take an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, you almost have a duty to let something bad happen to the greatest threat to this republic ever, right? I'm suspicious. I remain suspicious. And quite frankly, some weird stuff happened today that kind of suggests weirdness of this nature. You saw that the escalator situation, the escalator stopped working. I've been caught on like 5 elevators in my life. An escalator has never stopped working mid-escalation. Take a look again. It just stops. And
President Trump, why did you cancel the meeting with Chuck Schumer?
It's not going to stop them, of course. Watch President Trump when he gets to the top. He knows something's up. You got everything? That's not right. That is not right. And I think they played games with that. I'll show you. I think I can prove it in a moment. They also played games with his teleprompter, his great big speech at the United Nations, and they turned off the teleprompter.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
The teleprompter, the escalator, he puts it all together. I mean, they were trying to ruin his speech, ruin his day, send a message or whatever. Didn't work, but he knows what's happening.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Well, and it wasn't happenstance. Take a look at this in the London Times from Sunday, 2 days before. To mark Trump's arrival, the UN staff members have joked that they may turn off the escalators and elevators and simply tell him they ran out of money, so he has to walk up the stairs. Ha, ha, ha. 2 days prior, Caroline Leavitt says there should be an investigation. People should be fired. And yes, Melania actually could have gotten hurt. I walked up escalators that didn't work, but an escalator has never just stopped working right in front of me. Has that ever happened to you? Anyway, the UN. So it didn't stop him from delivering a very interesting and compelling speech full of, well, leadership.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.